Ladies and gentlemen, colleagues and friends, honorable members of audience, good morning. It's a great honor and privilege to welcome you to our capital of Mogadishu for this most important meeting on security in Somalia. From the attendance and high-level participation of key stakeholders, it's clear that we are in agreement that security is our greatest requirement and it is essential if this country is to realize its full potential. Given our current national challenges, it's important to recognize that only in partnership will we achieve the goal of a safe and secure nation. Security and counterterrorism are our government's top priorities. They are critical to absolutely everything else. Without ensuring security and countering terrorism, there cannot be the peaceful, progressive, and prosperous Somalia to which we all aspire. Our government's priorities and national progress heavily depend on improving the security situation in Somalia. If we are to achieve our goals, looking around this room, I recognize two friends and strong partners who support our security forces, notably the police and National Army. There are just too many to name and thank individually, and I therefore express our appreciation and gratitude to all. Ladies and gentlemen, colleagues and friends, honorable members of the audience, Somalia's insecurity was stemmed from poor governance and the near quarter-century civil war that ravaged the nation, its people, institutions, and resources. Most devastating was the painful loss of our people who are now scattered across the globe. The impact of Somalia's national collapse and the rise of Al-Shabaab's violent insurgencies and terrorism have enormously weakened both our security and that of the region as a whole. The enduring victims of this instability and lack of security remain the Somali people. Today, our government will spearhead progressive reforms, including in the security sector. Despite the challenges and setbacks, we Somalis are vibrant and resilient people, full of hope and high expectations. We will continue our rise. It is this public hope, trust, and expectations that fuel my administration's determination to fully utilize every tangible opportunity to continue to take Somalia forward. It is the solemn promise and duty of my government to capitalize on this momentum. There will be no delay, there will be no disruption. The government is committed to institutionalize peace and progress by achieving our priorities of security, public service, economic recovery, as well as elimination of corruption in all its forms. This will do through education, legislation, and decisive action. We as a government are absolutely determined to win the war against Al-Shabaab and ISIS with a strong commitment and support of our valued international partners. I'm confident that together we will disrupt, dismantle, and defeat the terrorists. We will return full control of all Somali's territories to the legitimate state and its people. The Somali National Army and our our partners, our AMISOM, have done significant work to return territories from Al-Shabaab across Somalia. We must and we will continue to recapture the remaining territories from these evil forces. My government's key strategic objectives is to establish a unified, capable, accountable, integrated, and right-sized federal and member state security force that will provide a safe environment for our citizens. As agreed upon national security architecture and recently developed national defense strategy, operational readiness assessment, as well as our National Integration Commission, encompass the security ambitions of this government. We are committed to the implementation of resectorization immediately, and we agree that the role of Commander Defense Force, CDF, is to reorganize and reintegrate the Somali National Army and appoint the best and the brightest sector commanders. In this respect, these documents, if invested in and properly implemented, we will see Somalia return to complete stability and begin to see a true progress. From the outset, I wanted to make crystal clear that we are proud of all our security forces. Our soldiers are fighting courageously and leading the effort alongside AMISOM troops to liberate their fellow countrymen from Al-Shabaab's violence and tyranny. We honor the sacrifices made by AMISOM forces and our international partners. We are forever indebted for their sacrifices. We are also cognizant that we must address the critical security gaps before transitioning security operations and full responsibility to well-trained, equipped, and supported Somali security forces. There is no doubt that Al-Shabaab is weakening and is losing ground. Tragically, they have reverted a symmetric warfare employing cowardly tactics of insurgents and terrorism. This demonstrates their moral and ideological bankruptcy, a distorted ideology that led them to undertake the 14 October evil attack, for which they are too ashamed to take responsibility. While the results of their criminal act have been horrifying, they are occurring less frequently. Indeed, from all this evidence, it's clear that we are winning against these desperate forces of terrorists. In terms of providing security and stability, our priorities are clear. We must increase the size and capabilities of our security forces, strengthening the capacity of state security institutions to recover territory, stabilize and provide basic safety and security, and integrate our security forces into federal and regional institutions. We are working tirelessly toward achieving all of these objectives, and we will do so with a continued commitment and increased support of our international partners. As I stated earlier, we sincerely understand that the accomplishment of our ambitious policy and legislative agenda truly hinges on the security and stability of our nation. Also, we must be mindful, however, that turning around a recovering state like Somalia requires patience, partnership, hope, and above all, significant resources. In the most recent London conference, I made clear this government's vision of liberating Somalia within 2 years by successfully implementing the national security architecture. In this short period, we have completed the operational readiness assessment for the police and the National Army, and we have begun the process of biometrical registering our soldiers for direct payments in a bank account. The operational readiness assessment is completed, and we have learned much about the strengths, gaps, and motivations of both the police and the National Army. We will use this information as a springboard to identify and implement necessary reform. The biometric registration of soldiers will be in line with the police reforms of the past and will bring the same benefit of direct payments and greater accountability and transparency. These achievements will facilitate the implementation of the national security architecture and the comprehensive approach on security. The main component of this is the training of Somali National Army and our federal and regional police forces. These will in turn enable and expedite the transition of Somali-led security forces. Reforms and challenges anywhere in the world. But when it comes to security sector reform, this government will be leading, not following. There are opportunities. I am truly proud to state that the Somali people fully support the fight against terrorism. Our brave, resilient, and industrious people are tired of war and instability. They have made it clear that there can be no returning to the dangerous and dark past. In all National Security Council meeting I had with the regional federal member states leadership who are present today, we agreed there is no greater goal than realizing stable Somalia by implementing the national security architecture. The federal government and the member states are united against a common enemy and united for a common purpose. With widespread public support and the backing of the international community, I am fully confident that we will successfully make this country secure, progressive, and prosperous for the benefit of its people and the wider world. However, we have challenges. Despite our success, many obstacles remain in our journey to security and stability as a nation. These include, but not are limited to, connecting newly liberated regions and providing stabilizing support in the form of coordinated aid, assistance, security, as well as local and regional economic development. Financing the security sector presents a significant challenge for which we have found a sustainable solution with the commitment and support of our international partners. As a government, we have prioritized domestic revenue generation, and in time, we expect to be able to cover the costs of running our government. However, the current security requirements far exceed our economic means, and we urgently request that the international community increase its diverse and generous support to our security force if we are to protect the gains we have made thus far. In addition, we are progressing toward full compliance with the UN Security Council resolution on the weapons embargo, and we are optimistic that our partners will facilitate and support us in this process. We must be allowed to fight the enemies of peace effectively and bring about their swift demise. Some of my nation's challenges will be discussed in more detail by my esteemed colleagues later today. I wanted to conclude on a positive note that I found buried deep in the Somali National Army report. The Somali National Army, despite the poor pay, is motivated to defend their country because they believe in it. Patriotism is the reason they are willing to risk their lives. I am deeply humbled and tremendously proud of my countrymen. In conclusion, I reiterate that security is our #1 priority. Without it, nothing can be achieved. While we are proud of our national success, including ORA, Operational Readiness Assessment, we understand there is still a long way to go before we establish a well-trained, equipped, integrated, and financed Somali security force. However, with our national conviction and your partnership, we will reach our final destination. The larger goal of sustainable security is intertwined with the need for long-term development. If we are to remain safe and if we are to prosper, we must develop our infrastructure, our industries, and our agriculture. We must have good schools and available health care. Peace will not last unless we create an economic climate where all Somalis can not only survive but prosper. Finally, experiences from other post-conflict society remind us of the importance of patience, reconciliation, institution building, and leadership. There must be a clear strategy which involves ridding our territories of enemies, securing that territory militarily, and developing it to bring about lasting change. There can be no quick fix or magic bullets from those seeking a safe and stable Somalia. The benefits, however, are immeasurable. If you are once again for attending this crucial meeting, and I wish you all successful deliberation, and I thank you.